As someone who was once a professional student, I would say, I became a real addict to a certain educational system. And I think at some point I overdosed. And I think in doing so, what I learned, or maybe the most important thing that I learned, was to self-educate and how to self-educate. And I think that in learning to follow my own interests, I was able to create an education for myself that fed my everyday life. And in doing so, I think I discovered my subjectivity through these interests and curiosities that I discovered. I think where art comes into all of that is reveal and make evident this subjectivity of experience, of expression, if that is one's interest, of criticality. In so doing, as an educational system in and of itself, treats the individual in society as opposed to the masses, which I think is crucial in this day and age. What comes up for me with this question is another question, actually, which is what is knowledge? What do we mean by knowledge? I think within a lot of cultural institutions, there's a lot of discourse around knowledge production, about creating new knowledge. And in the face of a world that's in a state of overproduction, I'm more curious about an approach that would deal more with an ecological approach to knowledge, recycling, reusing, sharing knowledge that already exists in all of the bodies in the world. And I think this notion of empirical knowledge really brings to light the question of the body, which currently for me translates a lot into memory, which I think is a very important condition of the body. And the other thing that it makes me think about these days especially is this question of personal physical safety. Where does one feel safe in the world? And I think that cultural institutions can become a place by their very nature of sites, by their very nature as sites of knowledge and transmission and reception and perception and boredom, maybe, and stimulation and creation, which I see as all states of the body. That these sites can also take on the role of providing, in one way or another, a safe place for bodies to then share and recycle and stimulate and produce knowledge. I would say that in my sort of self-education and learning about artists through their own words, through their works, reading artists' texts, seeing exhibitions. In that, I think I learned a lot about my body, about the history of where I come from, a certain genealogy to which I belong, which feels to me very physical. And I think that through that process of education, I would say, these cultural institutions became in some way a home for my body, and indeed a safe place to discover these physical realities of where I came from, artistically or physically, and who I might be, who I could be, in relation to art and its former and current practitioners.